Hey Hodies, well, welcome back to my channel. My name is hautemess and thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you are new here, Critical Sass is my new release videos. So we're gonna go through some makeup accounts, so like Trend Mood 1, Makeup Release Radar _official. I think those are the only two that I went through, and I think I might only have stuff from Trend Mood 1. I will link both accounts down in my description box below in case you're not already following either one of those accounts. And what I like to do is unpack and be critical of the releases and the marketing and how they make us feel, and just, you know, do I think that that product might be good or not? Is it something that I think would be worth my dollar, your dollar? And then we discuss in the comments down below. So yeah, that's one of the ethos of my channel, being critical of new makeup releases, and that's what we're going to do today. So if that kind of content sounds good to you, I would love to have you subscribe. Make sure you like this video. It really helps me in the algorithm, and I am on patreon.com/hautemesstom. If you would like to support me there, you are more than welcome to. It's linked down below, or you can just type it in. No pressure though. I do try to do 2 additional videos for patrons every month, no matter your patronage. It's kind of like a give what you can situation. So if you're interested in that, it's there. But again, just liking this video and watching it all the way through is helpful enough to me. It's been a minute. We haven't done a Critical Sass since November, and the last one we did was a Critical Sass Live. Speaking of Critical Sass Live, I do this live once a month. It's normally the last Wednesday of every month unless like otherwise commented on. That is already scheduled. I think you can add like a notify me whenever that goes live. So 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then, yeah, that's that. We hang out and then we do it. It's much more interactive than we do here. Critical Sass recorded. We're trying some situations. I know we love the cozy corner, but I think we need a different cozy corner version for Critical Sass than we have during the countdown that we did. Like, I want to be closer so you can see my facial expressions whenever I'm upset with a company. And that's what we're doing today. Okay. All right, let me pull out my phone. There are a couple older things that I wanted to throw my 2 cents in. So someone did ask me to do Makeup by Mario foundation and talk about that today, but I should have already posted my review of that on Monday. So I'm just going to refer you to that if you want to hear what I think about the Makeup by Mario foundation. It is the foundation I have on my face in this video. The Oh Honey 2 palette from Trixie Cosmetics and Sugarpill. If I recall right, I like this darker version better than I liked the first version, but like, I'm not into this. I'm just so not into this giant blush, which is not going to work for all skin tones. That's just like the nature of putting in one face product inside of anything, unless you're selling multiple versions of it. If you are selling one version of that face thing, then it's not going to work for everyone. And, you know, there are things that have come close. And I hate to say this, I do think that the Sunbeam Cheek and Eye thing from Chantecaille tends to be versatile because it's like not everyone, like I can't use it as a highlight, but someone with a deeper complexion can use it as a highlight. But we all could use it on our eyes. It's like one of those things, but this blush I don't think is going to be as universal. Do you know what I mean? And it's always interesting to see when someone who owns a makeup brand collabs with another makeup brand. It's kind of cool, but I really wish it was like Trixie Cosmetics with Sugarpill. Because I think that'd be interesting, because for whatever reason, I think like Sugarpill is still the peak of color, which I don't know is like 100% true, but I still have their eyeshadows. I think they perform very well. I don't know if this formula is any different from their full-size pans, but these colors look pretty. They're interesting. In the swatches, it looks gorgeous. I don't know that I'd be able to, me personally, put a look together or many looks together using this color story, but it is cute. I really think that Drip Drip shade and Buzz Off are really beautiful. Buzz Off almost looks like the eyeshadow equivalent of the lipstick shade from Sugarpill called Dropout. You know what it feels like to me? It's interesting. This feels like more like fan service than Trixie Cosmetics does. Follow me here. So this is called Oh Honey. I don't watch anymore. It's like not part of my, and I used to really like it. There's no following out. It's just, you know, like ebbs, flows. Sometimes I'll throw it on, but like, I'm not a diehard Trixie or Katya fan. I mean, I love Katya, and if I had to pick a favorite, it'd be Katya. Anyway, besides the point. And I don't dislike Trixie. I'm a fan of both, but like, I'm not a fan enough to like follow their careers with any great interest. There's very few drag performers where I'm like really following what they do all of the time. Anyway, Trixie's releases have been thought out and interesting, and it's like they did the one with like it was the one with Katya. They did that release with Juno Birch. They did that like Flower Gay or Plant Gay palette. Like all of it has been not really fan service. It's just like what I think Trixie has been very interested in doing. But like, does Trixie even still do the Oh Honey thing? Oh Honey, because like that was a thing for a while, and I think it happened a lot during like that's where that came from. But like if you think about it now, the thing that I have interacted with most recently from the series that has made its way through TikTok, and like I have found it organically through what I normally do, is like Swedish Share. I know they couldn't release a Swedish Share palette, but like it feels like fan service to me. Anyway, I'm not sure if this one sold as well as the first one. The first one sold out so many times. Like it sold out every time it got released. Like I think I almost tried to buy it because I think that was in the era where I was like trying to be a YouTuber but like wasn't doing it and like thought I needed to buy everything. And I do think there were a couple times where I like went to go buy the original one and it was sold out. It's interesting, and it's not to say that I think Trixie's just as relevant and as popular. I think it's just different now. Like I think we've had this conversation many times over. I think most people are not as interested in makeup, or like are overwhelmed by makeup or burnt out by the makeup scene. So I can't imagine this one doing as well as the first one, and it's been so long since they did the first one. And I do think that Trixie's relevancy has shifted from people who enjoy makeup, and if people who are enjoying makeup are going to just buy from Trixie Cosmetics instead of like this, because like the first Oh Honey palette, Trixie Cosmetics didn't exist. Like there's a lot of layers to this that I'm not sure if like it was all really well thought out. But I do kind of like that Trixie is still doing collaborations as Trixie instead of like Trixie. You know, it's like I just said the other thing, but I do think it's kind of like it's endearing, right? It's like it kind of gives her the opportunity to explore things that she might not want to put out for herself in her own range, but like still get to do that. And I do think that this is something that if Trixie Cosmetics put out a color story like this, it wouldn't feel like a Trixie Cosmetics release. It would have to be like a very distinct theme that Trixie would going for. And like this time she just was like, Sugarpill's gonna make the shadows, I'm gonna slap my name on it. I mean, I'm sure she was more involved than that, but like that's what I mean. So okay, anyway, that was like actually a lot more thoughts on that than I thought I had. So you're both welcome, and I'm sorry. The next thing I have are, because people commented this, they said they wanted me to review this. I did not buy these, but you know, there's still time. I'm fairly certain these are permanent. These are from LH Cosmetics. They are blush duos. So there's Area, Element, and Zone. And people were distinctly interested in hearing about what I had to think about Area. And I get it, because it's like these desaturated purples, lavenders. I'm not really sure, is one side supposed to be matte and the other not? Oh, these are $32 by the way. No, they're both luminous. Is it okay, so it's interesting because in the swatches the colors look very different, but in the pan those two purples look very similar. I think this is cute. I guess I don't love a blush duo. I think I've learned that over the course of my no buy and all of that, and like that Jouer blush came and went within a year in the duo, and like I said, it was nice, but it was something that I wasn't really reaching for very often. And I think that if I were to purchase this, it would kind of fall to the wayside like that, where it would be like, or I would like one more than the other, and then it would be like, oh, I don't want to keep this for both of these, I don't want to keep it just for the one. And so it becomes a problem in that way. You know, we've had a conversation recently about how I feel about fast makeup, and I loved hearing all of your very thoughtful thoughts that might not have been aligned with mine. I really appreciate hearing what everyone has to say, because you know, it was a conversation. And like I said, I don't have all the answers and I don't know what the right answer is. But I think LH Cosmetics is a good example of I guess they're an indie brand, like of a brand that is like doing thoughtful, slow releases. And like, I do think these colors are thoughtful. I would, you know, I think that maybe we didn't go completely deep enough, or maybe I'm not sure if these would be saturated enough, or I don't know. Because some of the shades do look chalky on the deeper model swatch. The light purple looks not great. And like the light orange doesn't look great on the deeper complexion model. I don't know, but on the cheek sometimes it's a different story, and I know that to be true. I know that not every brand is capable of putting out all of the things. I guess when I think of a blush release, I think of like orange, like a pink, a red, and sometimes a lavender. And like, what did we get? We got everything but a red. But I do think the purples are interesting and like pretty unique. And that is definitely something that if I were to like buy one of these, it would be the shade Area. So whenever you're looking at this, you have to think about a couple of things, like things that I just mentioned. Do you like blush duos, or would you rather have a singular blush? Are you concerned about it? Or do you like that for $32 you're getting two blushes? That might be add value to you. So that doesn't add value to me. I would rather have one compact with one blush that I know. And then if I want to layer blushes, then I can just do that with my single compacts. But that might be the solution for you. Or are you someone who is just getting into makeup? Perhaps getting 2 blushes for $32 to try 2 different shades is of value to you because you're getting to try more than once at a different price. That's something that you have to break down and figure out for yourself. But those are the things that I would take into consideration before purchasing this. But I think they are pretty. While I was away, back at the beginning of December, Pat McGrath released a Star Wars collection. This is the second time she's released a Star Wars collection. Having been a former Pat McGrath stan, I know that maybe some people might be like, why Star Wars? But like, if you think about kind of all of the releases leading up to the first Star Wars release, everything is kind of like space themed. Whether or not it's like definitively a space theme, but it's all kind of space adjacent, right? Celestial, like these are the types of, these are the types of words being used in the marketing for a lot of Pat McGrath. She was on a podcast, or maybe it was on the radio at one point, but they had her talk about her 5 songs that impacted her the most. And all of them kind of were like space themed. And so I see a world in which Pat McGrath is just like, I really love Star Wars. And so this feels really organic to me. From an outsider's perspective, it's like, do I feel that way? Does it seem that way? I don't know. I can't speak to that. But anyway, starting there, we'll end with the thing that, I'm sure everyone wants to hear me complain about. The R2D2 palette is cute. I like the color in there. I like the brights. The neutral is kind of kept to the R2D2 C3PO palette. so much I pay attention to Star Wars. There's also the Darth Vader palette, which is probably, if I were to buy any of them, that one's the most interesting to me. I guess kind of how okay. It's a bit of a read, guys. It's a bit of a read. If you weren't here when I did a Charlotte Tilbury brand review, and I was doing it as a skeptic, and I was trying to figure out if Charlotte Tilbury is luxury, is it worth it? And, they're kind of with any brand, there were some real big hits for me and some real big misses in the brand Charlotte Tilbury, but it was mostly a miss. And I found the experience overall not to be super luxurious. I did find some of the formulas, but not the packaging they come in, to be luxurious. So it all depends on what you're looking for, what you consider to be luxurious. And I think that's a topic that we'll do on Minimal SASS. Like, what is luxury makeup? Like, what do you consider luxury makeup to be? And it actually was inspired, one of my subscribers brought it up and said, I would love to hear more about that. And at first I thought, I don't know that I have much to say about it, but the more I've thought about it and more it's sat with me, the more I've been like, oh yeah, I think that is a topic worthy of a Minimal SASS. Lip glosses, fine. Lipsticks, fine. Or I don't know if any of those are like new shades. They might be repackaged shades. Thing that I think I was the most interested in whenever I saw this, the thing that made me get a little bit excited, were those potted eyeshadows. And I have seen some of my friends on Instagram, specifically I'm thinking of Daria, I believe that's her name, A Variety of Distractions, I believe is her name. If I have that wrong, I will correct myself both on screen, and I will link her Instagram down below. You should be following her. She does some great content. She does some really cool killer looks. She's actually just very cool. You should be following her. She has a couple of these, and I've seen them. They're not as sparkly as I'd want them to be. They look great, and they look very simple one and dones. But at this point, if I'm buying a one and done, it has to have like dimensionality to it, all on its own. And that's like not what I felt whenever I saw the use of these in practice. And I think that you can kind of tell just by like looking at them that you're going to get like something beautiful, but maybe like not something extreme. And you know what's very interesting? If you watched Hannah Louise Poston's video reviewing the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadows, that's a very interesting thing to think about, because we all use makeup differently. And when I think of something like this, these potted eyeshadows, I want extreme. I want it to be sparkly and textured and gorgeous and have depth and like be something that I need my one and done eyeshadow to be something that smokes, like a smoky eyeshadow. I don't want to do a one and done of like a light color or something that's very close to my skin tone. That's not what I'm looking for. And I think that's kind of closer to what those do, maybe with the exception of the like deep blue one, which would have been the one that I probably would have been the most interested in out of all of this. But let's get to the main show. If you are new here, if I were to pick my favorite Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette. Now I'm wearing Pat McGrath actually today, which is funny, but I'm doing a side project and it will come back up on my channel, but I am cycling through my eyeshadow palettes and I'm using them all. I want them all to touch my eyes, and then after I cycle through them, I want to like reflect on that. So that's what's going on. And that's why I'm wearing Pat McGrath today. But I wasn't expecting, I really enjoyed using the eyeshadow palette I used today, which is Mothership Divine Rose 2. Don't really know what number it is anymore. I used to be the one who would know all of that, but I've moved on. But Midnight Sun has always been my favorite Pat McGrath palette, and I've always feel like it's been an unsung hero. And I know why it's not popular, and I know why it's not the thing that everyone loses their mind over when they think of Pat McGrath motherships. The color story is difficult. It's not as straightforward. You're not given a bunch of neutrals with some very shiny pops. You're not given a bunch of neutral shades with some very shiny neutrals. So you have to think about it a little bit more, and I love that. Not that I don't think it's the most challenging color story ever, but I could see that if you're spending that much money on an eyeshadow palette, you're going to want it to be something that you can put on every day and feel very confident about what you're doing and feel very self-assured about what you're doing. And I don't know that this palette offers people that feeling. Kind of, for me, it's like when I'm buying something that expensive, I want it to be beautiful and unique and challenging and interesting and feel like I'm exploring it every time I open it. And that's how I feel about this color story. But if you've paid any attention to Pat McGrath and her website, this palette is often on sale. Without the Star Wars, often on sale. Honestly, I think it's kind of just been on sale for quite a bit of time at half off, almost like $75, I think is like what they were selling, for something around $75, which for a Pat McGrath palette, unfortunately, is a steal, right? Like that's probably the best deal you're going to get on a Pat McGrath palette. And sometimes I think you could even use promo codes on top of that discount. People who are aware in the makeup community like kind of know this. Now, if you're not in the makeup, if you're not like super into it, you might not know that. And so then you see this Star Wars release and you're a big fan of Star Wars and you're a big fan of makeup and you never really thought about Pat McGrath, and you see this and you're like, yeah, I like that. I'd buy that. The upcharge, the expensiveness of it feels worth it to me because I'm getting also merchandise. It's a limited edition Star Wars thing, and I will feel so happy to have that. It is like a sticker. And I think it's Monica Bell Beauty. If I have her name wrong, I will correct myself on the bottom. On Instagram, made a reel and said, hey, FYI, this is a sticker on top of the regular Pat McGrath packaging. Brands have done this before. Brands have tried this before. Tarte really did put a sticker over top of an old palette, and it was just like, and sometimes I understand that you might have excess packaging, but you have a different product in it, and you're just like, we have all of these palettes and we are doing the same types of pan. That makes a little more sense to me. We also saw it with, I think, Urban Decay with they had like some kind of matte blurring powder thing. And when it used to be called it was called the Velvetizer. And anyway, if you peeled off the sticker, it was just the old thing. What a lot of us assume, this is alleged, I have no idea if this is what happened, is they were like, well, we're going to remove all the palettes we haven't sold from their cardboard component. We're going to slap this sticker on, put it in a different cardboard component, and we are going to sell it at full price as if it is something that they have never seen before. That doesn't feel like the move for a luxury brand. Also, I did not circle back to the luxury thing. When I also think about those 5-pans palettes, is that luxury? Are we calling Pat McGrath luxury anymore? And that's just something to falafel fries about. We could talk about it in the comments. Like, do you consider Pat McGrath luxury? She certainly prices her stuff at that price point. But like, is that how you think about her anymore? Because a 5-pan in a cardboard packaging, whether or not the formula is luxurious or not, it's like, is that what I want to spend like more money than I would on an eyeshadow palette? I'm not saying for me, but like I'm saying for like people who wouldn't spend that much on eyeshadow, like, because I have, and I'm not trying to say that I wouldn't, because I have, but like to me, I wouldn't go for the 5-pan palette at the upcharge. I would rather spend more. And I know that's not available to everyone. And Pat McGrath selling the formula in these 5-pans is much more accessible to much more people. And I think that is great. It becomes a game of like brand identity. 2, you can be a mid-range brand if that's what you want to be, or not mid-range, but like a high-end, right? Like we're about putting you down from luxury. You're selling things at a more accessible price point, not the most accessible, but at a more accessible price point. Do you want to do that? That might make you more money. That might make more sense. But you kind of started at this price point. And it feels like we're working our way down. I'm saying this, it's going to sound really snobby when I say, but I do feel as though when you see this shift happening, and I would say this for any, like if Chanel started doing this, if Chantecaille started doing this, it's like you thought we all should be paying this. And now we're seeing over time that like it's not the same value. So you're kind of devaluing your thing. Like anytime I recommend something from Pat McGrath, it's like, don't buy it until it's on sale, because it will go on sale for an exorbitant discount. Not just 10, not 15, but sometimes 25 to 30 to 40% off. And then it's just like, if I could just wait to get it 40% off. And it would be one thing if she ran one sale a year, kind of like Victoria Beckham does, or Chantecaille runs, like they run so fewer sales. It's like, what do you think that we should pay for this? Because it seems that you might be making most of your money on your sales. It's like, maybe that's just what it should cost. So maybe we aren't a luxury brand, and maybe we do bring the price down, and it's just like that's what I'm philosophizing. Anyway, I think it's a damn shame. I think it's a damn shame they thought they could pull the wool over our eyes. Also, they blocked Monica. They blocked her. And that feels really icky to me. Here's the thing. We are all, I say this also as like, you know, a public figure. I mean, I'm not the largest YouTuber, but I do know there are almost 3,000 of you watching me. And, you know, sometimes I'm going to say stuff that you're not going to like and disagree with. And I'm going to have to hear that. Now, I'm not saying you being nasty to me for no reason. That's not the same. I'm saying if you're like, Tom, you said this thing and I like didn't, you know, this is how I feel about the thing you said. Much like a lot of people did not like the way that I talked about e.l.f. or other brands whenever I was talking about fast makeup. And that's fair enough. We don't have to see eye to eye on that. But I'm not going to block you. I'm not going to say you can never watch a video of mine again. And you might choose to stop watching me. And those are like the things that happen. That's the nature of this. So you have isn't it $1 billion brand? You have $1 billion brand, and someone pointing out the fact that you just lazily slapped on a sticker hurt your feelings so much that you felt compelled to block. Feels a little weak sauce to me. Like, I don't care for that. And, you know, Pat McGrath has been, in my personal opinion, has kind of been like spiraling the drain as far as my personal perception. I'm not saying the makeup community at large. I'm just saying for me. And this is kind of like that cherry on top where I'm like, okay, so I'm good. I'm good on that. Like, I'm good. Like, for me personally, I love a lot of the Pat McGrath makeup that I have in my collection, and I do cherish it, and I feel fondly for it, and I had to like come back around to it because at first, when I started feeling these feelings about the brand, I was like, you know, and I felt icky about everything I have, and I don't feel that way anymore. Like, I bought that, and I bought them because I loved them, or I thought I loved them, and there was a reason I bought them initially. And so I'm trying to fix my relationship with the products I already have, but it does kind of leave me feeling like, I don't think I would like to buy more products from you. And I'm not calling for a boycott on Pat McGrath. I don't think that if you want to continue buying from Pat McGrath, but I'm saying for me, that's the cherry on top. Also, if you're not following Monica, you should. It's Monica Bell Makeup. I was so close. Monica Bell Makeup. Makeup loving gay auntie. 40 plus. And please go follow her. First and foremost, she's a beautiful Black woman and queer. And I love that. And we need more of that in this community. And also not in her 20s. We love to see it. Please go. I'll pop a picture. I probably already popped a picture of her up here. Go follow her. Go follow her on Instagram. It does seem that Instagram that's where she's posting. She's also a law professor and a sociologist. So not only that, she seems to be very intelligent, which we stan. We love. Please go support Monica. And, you know, take a second to sit with that Pat McGrath information. So this palette is from Elcie Cosmetics, and it is called the Minimalist Special Edition Volume 2. These are the names of the shades: On the Rocks, Champagne, Bourbon, Dirty Martini, and Chardonnay. This is a trend we'd post. There's no swatches, but, okay. Okay. I guess I'm not understanding, like, the minimalist aspect of things. Yes, there are 5 eyeshadows, but, like, so I think also, and I could be wrong about this, this is from an outsider's perspective. I don't know a lot about minimalism culture. I mean, look at me. I'm not the, I mean, you know what's so funny is like I'm wearing like a shirt that I think that feels very minimal. It's very funny. Like it's like, maybe I am a minimalist. I'm not. You know I'm not. We know I'm not. I also kind of like associate minimalism with not declutter, like what is the word I'm looking for? You know, organization. I kind of associate the two together. Like minimalism equals organized in my brain. That's how I see it. That's like that's how I envision, like that's my envisionment of a minimalist. And so in no world do I see someone who self-describes, and again, outsider perspective, as a minimalist, would love how these eyeshadows are sized and placed differently. Because to me it should be simple, and this feels chaotic. Not that you can't be like a chaotic minimalist, but like it kind of feels that way. It seems that way. I find this interesting. And there's no swatches, and I kind of wish there were, because are these all supposed to be one and dones? It's interesting that there's no matte in there. We're supposed to build it up. Like, I guess I don't understand the concept. Like, tell me more. Like, if it's one and done eyeshadows, if it's 5 one and done eyeshadows, I think you need to advertise it as that. And obviously, like, people can mix and match these colors if they want to, but if your vision for it, because a minimalist to me in makeup is someone who does the least, right? Does a very effective eye look with one eyeshadow, because that's all they need. And that's all the effort that they want to put into it. I don't know. I'm a little lost. I'm a little confused. Like, I'm sure they're all really pretty swatched, but it's also like, I don't want to look at that. And also, like, if the eyeshadows had been organized better, this palette could be smaller and therefore much more minimal. So I don't understand. Kaleidos. I'm going to do it. I think next month, I think for February, I'm going to use my budget to buy like a full face of Kaleidos, and we'll just spend the whole month together over the course of Get Ready With Me's and other things, you know, playing with that. Let me know if you're interested in that down below. If you're not, if you want to hear more reviews from other things, let me know. Anyway, I have been so curious about these lip cloud claim things, and every time they release them, there's like 7 shades that I want. And that just means that there's normally just one that I don't want. But like they revealed, what is this called? The Polar Placid Cloud Lip Clay and the Willow Wisp Cloud Lip Lab Clay. And they're all gorgeous. They're so gorgeous. They really know what they're doing, man. They are really, with these lip products, there's just like so much nuance to them. They're just so pretty every time they release them. I remember the first release of them, I was like kind of interested in. And then they released the apple. And that was like when I was like, oh my God, do I want them? So I've been thinking about these for well over a year, because I think I was talking about them whenever I was still in my no buy. And I was like, ooh, if I wasn't in a no buy, I would have bought a lot of these. The shade Golden Rosin, gorgeous. The nudes, they're all very, like the shade North, ooh, and Echo Valley, ooh, all pretty. Bloodstone's really pretty. They're also pretty. They really kill it with the colors. They're really good. Okay, so Tarte is releasing a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury contour wand. They're releasing the contouring Sculpt tape. And, you know, for the first time in a while, calling something tape, this makes a lot of sense. For those of you who are unaware, there are some people and just performers and drag performers. I'm thinking of drag performers in general, but I'm imagining that other performers do this, where you put tape on certain parts of your face and you kind of like gently pull a string back and it gives you like an instant facelift. What are we doing when we're contouring? We're like adding shadow, trying to give ourselves a little bit of a facelift. So the name works here. I'm not mad about it. Sometimes I get mad whenever brands, you know, do like naked, but the tape works here. We'll sculpt and contour, and that's why it's called the Shape Tape to begin with. Like the original, it's like we are normally people at the time when Shape Tape was released, and many people still do now. They use a brighter under eye concealer to lift. You know, we're doing a lot of work. We're hoping that it's solving all of our sins. They're releasing it in 5 shades, so 3 more shades than Charlotte Tilbury has at this time. I know a lot of people don't like this component, and I get it. I don't fully hate the component, because I think what it does for some people who are like not as confident in contouring, it provides you just like the ease of being able to put it exactly where you want it to. Because if you're doing powder contouring, you think of those contouring brushes, those typical angle brushes, that's scary. If you don't know how to handle that, if you don't know what you're doing with that, that's like hard. And I think that this provides an ease of use. And I don't know, I mean, I imagine this came out already because I think this is older. So I have no idea what the reception is on them. From not knowing any reviews about it, I think this is a solid release. And you know, I if we're gonna dupe, if we're gonna like copy someone's idea, adding more shades is really smart. And Tarte adding more shades, Tarte having more shades is like, that's embarrassing, Charlotte. Get it together. I think important context, if you are just here for this video, is that I really liked the Charlotte Tilbury contour one, but like one of the things was is like the color's weird. There's not enough colors. Like that was, and then like Tarte was like here. And I also believe that Milani has something very similar. So there's options. There's options. Okay, a lot of you wanted to talk about this. So Natasha Denona released the Mini Pastel palette and the Pastel Plexi Glow highlighter. Before I saw someone use this and review it, or many people use it and review it, I would have said, very interesting highlighter from Miss Denona. That's cool. We don't see that a lot from brands like Natasha Denona. I keep saying Charlotte Tilbury. Natasha Denona. And then I saw Teresa's Dead use it. And she said, this is just like a light gold. There's no duochromality, because it says in a wash of shimmering pink, golden champagne, icy mint, and it's a gel powder formula. And I've heard that the formula works well. The problem is it looks like it's going to be more special than it is. So, and I think that Teresa tried to target some of the shades in there. And so it's kind of like, to me, what is the point? What is the point? What are we doing? What is the point of this? Just release a gold highlighter. Don't do all that, because you're putting it in this shifty packaging, and people, you're kind of trying to pull the wool over our eyes because you're releasing it with this pastel palette, which has like beautiful colors in it. And assumingly, because the packaging is similar, you want us to use these in tandem with each other, and perhaps someone with a bright, sparkly kind of highlighter look would like get on with that and want to spend their money on it. No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't say that that is worth it. Let's talk about the palette. Would you say that's pastel? I don't I'm not the arbiter of color. Can you be an arbiter? What's an arbiter? A person usually appointed who decides the issues or results. So yeah, I think I used that right. So yeah, I don't get to decide what pastel is. But in the pan, they don't really look pastel. Swatched out, they don't really look pastel. The green is kind of like an astroturf green, and not what I would describe as like a pastel green. That's a pretty dark blue for it to be considered pastel. Maybe the silver and pink are pastel, and then there's like a gold. I don't know. To me, that's not pastel. But what I will say, it's pretty. The only thing is the matte. There's one matte and it is green. So it feels like much more like a companion palette to me. Like, not, now I've seen some people do some beautiful looks with just this palette, but I'm just saying I don't need a matte on my eye to construct an eye look. I don't mind shimmers in my crease. These are things that I don't mind, but I'm saying in mass, that's not typically the case. A lot of people want mattes to structure, and it's just like the only thing you can like structure with and like put in your crease and on the outer corner is green. I've also heard, again, that I've heard the formula is nice on this. I've heard it's typical Natasha Denona formula. So if you love that color story and you wanted to get into Natasha Denona, and this speaks to you more than anything other Natasha Denona release, I always think the mini palettes are a great place to start with her. They're at a more accessible price point. You kind of get your hands in it before you like take the plunge. I'm still feeling ambivalent to Natasha Denona, not to the point where I don't want to like talk about new releases, but like it's very unlikely that I'm gonna like buy from her in the future, like, or in the near future. So anyway, still feeling like about her and about the brand. So I'm just like kind of like and that's how I feel like I approach this. I saw it and I was like, you know what, 6 months ago I would have thought this was very cool and interesting because it's coming from Natasha Denona, and now I feel like NARS is releasing the Soft Matte Advanced Perfecting Powder, a multi-purpose skin perfecting powder that blurs imperfections, smooths the look of skin, controls shine, and sets makeup for up to 24 hours. Let's stop making the 24-hour claim. Can we just call things long wearing? What poor soul did you make wear this powder for 24 hours? And you went, yeah, that still looks right. That looks good. It's controlling shine. Who are you doing that to? That's a joke. I'm fairly certain that NARS is like very aggressively not cruelty free. So I wasn't trying to like, you don't need to make the point that it was an animal. Do you know what I mean? I get it. That's upsetting. It comes in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shades. Yeah, and let's just say, which is interesting because NARS is typically pretty good with shade ranges, but it's like white, 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 yellow, which if you have deep skin might work as a brightening powder. Like if you wanted to get two, and it goes back to white, and then it goes tan, deeper, not even deep. I wouldn't say. I understand that this is a setting powder, but if the assumption is with my setting powder that I also want to brighten exclusively, I feel like we've missed the point. Like it just, if you're gonna, if you're gonna release this many shades, there better be some variation, and I just feel like the variation isn't enough. Like it's just like it's light, deepish. Again, I understand it's supposed to be like translucent and like work like a little more sheer, right? It's like not supposed to provide like a lot of coverage. But I'm like, interesting that we're going with a circular compact. Here's my thought. There are the counter people, the people who have been shopping at counters their whole life. Their parents always shopped at the counter, and then they have now become the counter people where they always get their makeup at the counter. There are probably some people out there who have all of their makeup is from NARS. I see that. Like, I see that being a thing. And all of their packaging has always been square or rectangular. And now there's a circular one. And that would bother me. Like, if I had a collection of NARS stuff and then all of it was in square or rectangular packaging and then there was just like one circular thing, now it would make it easier to find. Like, you would know which thing it is. But it's just like, that would drive me nuts. And I imagine it would drive a lot of you nuts because I think that I've received comments before when I build my own palettes and like the shapes of the pans are different shapes that people do not like that. It doesn't bother me, but I'm thinking about it. Like that's a choice. It's a choice that maybe, did you consider that? I'm not saying that's the biggest deal. The shade range is like the thing that I have more of a problem with. But it sounds like it'd be like a nice powder. I don't know, though. I feel like NARS has done powders in the past, and they have been a little bit polarizing. So hopefully this is a good one. Let's talk about Too Faced. Oh, I probably should have said this at the beginning. This is going to be long. Too Faced is releasing Pinker Times Ahead. So there's the Cloud Crush Blurring Blush. I love that we're using blurring as a selling point this year. More blur. Always want it. I feel like we haven't been talking about blur in some time, but I love that. This is going to be a really weird criticism coming from me, but all those blushes aren't pink. And again, the theme of the collection is Pinker Times Ahead. Compact, cute compact. And it does appear that the outside packaging matches the color of the blush inside. So should you like this formula and buy more than one shade, you will know what shade you are pulling out of the drawer. Something that luxury brands are really bad at, like trying to give you definitive, this is this and this is that. That feels well thought out. And I know that's expensive to do, to make a component specifically for each blush. I think that was worth your time to put the money into Too Faced. The blushes are pretty, like a Velvet Crush. They're really pretty, actually. I'm not even mad. Okay, here's another problem. These blushes come in these cute compacts that feel really well thought out. And the highlighter comes in a rectangular cardboard component. So what that says to me is that this highlighter is going to be limited edition, but your intention is to keep these blushes around. They're supposed to be permanent in the collection. Pink highlighter, we've seen it. You don't need that. Like, no one needs that. No one wants that. And then the palette, does that scream pink to you? It's not really screaming. Like, there are certainly pinks in it. And the packaging certainly makes you believe it's pink, but the inside, is it pink? And listen, I'm certainly not the one to gatekeep pink because you guys all know that pink is not my favorite shade of makeup. To me, that is interesting and fascinating. There's a makeup insurance, so it's like shadow insurance but larger. And I didn't mind the shadow insurance eyeshadow primer. I just decluttered it, but not because it was bad. I just found another thing that I liked a little bit better. And then Better Than Sex volumizing. So it's in brown. So they're releasing the brown version of the Better Than mascara. Oh, there's a new eyeliner there. Okay, this all makes sense. Anyway, the makeup insurance is a setting spray. I thought it was a primer. It's a setting spray. Okay, that makes a little more sense. Okay. So, I mean, I think there are some things in here that, like, if the blush formula is quality, I think that would be like worth it, you know? And I appreciate the thought. It feels like some of this was really well thought out and some of it really wasn't. And it's like, also, if you're releasing this all under like this pink collection, it's like a little confusing. So just a thought. Oh, it's Pinker Times Ahead plus more. I'm now less confused. I read the whole thing. I think my thought is right. This pink crush stuff is not going to be permanent, my guess. And those blushes are probably art. So I think the blushes are pretty. And I think when Too Faced takes the time, they do sometimes get things right. Although I would love to see, now that the owners are like no longer there and it's kind of just being run by Estee Lauder, not like a full rebrand, but like more thoughtful. But like that's kind of my general criticism about makeup anymore at all, is like just more thoughtful. And I do feel like the blushes were more thoughtful, but the palette does not feel more thoughtful, and that's where we ran into some problems. This was really funny, and I'm going to briefly talk about it, is Laura Mercier is releasing the new Real Flawless Weightless Perfecting Foundation. And the way that this has been sneak peeked is it has shown like many bottles of one shade of foundation instead of showing the full range, which was a choice. I mean, I don't know how maybe this photo was leaked, and maybe that was not their intention. So I don't know. But people were like, that's the shade range, but it's not. So kind of just had to withhold. There's not enough information even for me to talk about it. But like the bottle's pretty. It kind of looks a lot like the Makeup by Mario one, if I'm being honest. It has like a metal band and a white top, and then the color of the foundation coming through. It does look to be oval, like oval from the top instead of perfectly round like the Makeup by Mario one. It's certainly something to keep an eye on. This one's old. Well, I guess it got sneak peeked. I think it's now finally for sale. The Charlotte Tilbury highlighters. This is going to sound weird coming from me. Not that I have lost my lust for a highlight. I'm very satisfied with my highlighter collection, and I'm not really in search of anything. And if I think about the highlighters that I actually use the most, outside of Oryx Glow Lust, it is the Milk Makeup Flex highlighter, the powder one, which is discontinued, and the Tarte Twinkle Palette Volume 2, which is long discontinued. And those are my favorite powder highlights. And I love the Ritual Defee highlight. And so it's just kind of like, I don't know what would get me excited about highlight again. I don't know what highlighting product would need to come out on the market for me to go, that is worth me buying. Unless I was looking for better. Like if you were for some reason dissatisfied with a formula, perhaps this would be a nice thing to upgrade to. And generally, while I have tried a lot of Charlotte Tilbury, and I do think Charlotte is like at her best with powder product, in my opinion. I think some people would disagree with me on that. Her powders were the best thing about it, like her collection to me, like with what I tried. So I think that this is probably going to be lovely. I think this is going to be a beautiful formula. Is it going to be a formula that I feel like is different enough for me to need? These aren't special colors, right? It's not like when you're talking, it's like this versus Ritual Defee. It's not even the same game, right? Ritual Defee, they're interesting duochromes, alluring flips of color. We're not getting that from Charlotte Tilbury. We're getting beautiful, glowy skin, like that Charlotte Tilbury look, which is cool. But like, it's not like I'm... I often say, like, what is my favorite brand? Because it gets asked of me a lot. And I don't know that I have a favorite brand. But certainly, if I had to pick one, it's certainly not going to be Charlotte Tilbury. And so I'm just saying that, like, honestly. Like, I honestly can now say that I've tried some of it and I do like it. But, like, I don't think Charlotte Tilbury is going to ever release something that's going to make me go, like, I need that. Although, every now and then, she innovates, which I do appreciate. But this doesn't feel like innovation. But I would say, like, if you are really happy with your highlighter collection, and you have some highlighters that you're really big fan of, I don't think that you need this. And I don't think this would add value to your collection. If you're really thrilled with your way your highlighters are, don't be tempted by this. And I know that's sometimes really hard. Something new and shiny. And if you really are into shiny things, this is a new and a shiny thing. In a month or two, you'll forget that this release even happened and you'll just continue using the highlighters that you already have and love. I really think that would be the case with this. Like, I don't even think there would be FOMO about this if you just gave yourself some space from the release. Tarte is releasing the Sweet Cravings eyeshadow palette. I think this looks cool. I don't like the outside packaging. But I think what they've done on the inside, I don't know, $32, so it's like not the worst price point. I think it's pretty. I mean, it's basic. It's like not like an exciting color story, but like the shades look incredibly rich. It looks like it could work on a like every skin tone. I mean, assuming that semi-sweet, like those dark shades actually show up dark on dark complexion. And I would really love to sit here and shit talk it, but I don't know that I can. It looks really well thought out. And I think that maybe some people will have issues with the pans not being aligned like I had with the Elcie one, but it all goes with the theme. So it makes more sense here. Like, I understand what's happening here. With the Elcie one, I had a problem because it was like, you are saying that this is the minimalist eyeshadow palette. And it's like, is it? Because I don't know. It's not something that I would review. I think there's like the one shade in the bottom in the middle. That's really pretty. But it's really basic. And I probably could dupe this if I wanted it in my collection. But like, if you don't have a neutral palette, or if you were looking for a neutral palette and these neutrals sing to you, are these baked? Matte and shimmer. Warm taupes. I mean, like, it's, you know, it just speaks to a lot of people. They did a good job. And I know that Tarte is like boring and kind of, but like, this is better than normal Tarte. I feel like they were like the Barbaras. They got into the office and they were like, Barbara, I love chocolate. Sorry, this is well, I mean, it's not an exact bit, but like, if you've ever watched old Niecy Pizza content, she used to do a skit with the Barbaras, and that was who ran Tarte. It's like, I just imagine a Barbara board meeting. I'm borrowing the bit. I don't talk about Tarte like this very often, but I just imagine the Barbara sitting around and be like, do you guys love chocolate? And then Barbara number 2 is like, you know, I just realized I love chocolate. Dark chocolate's good for you. My doctor told me. I've been seeing Dr. Sismo for years. Barbara number 3, for your nose. What if we made a chocolate palette that smelled like chocolate? Well, Tarte shadows kind of smell like chocolate. If you've never smelled, they smell weird. Not weird in a bad way, but like they have like a cacao scent to them. The highlighters I have that. Maybe they've done away with that, but they do have a distinct scent. They used to have a distinct scent. I don't try a lot of Tarte. I haven't had a lot of that come through, but this is now the second Tarte release I haven't shit talked really badly. You know, like, again, not for everyone. I don't think that this is not revolutionary. I don't think people are going to be busting down the doors of Sephora to grab this, but like, it's cute. e.l.f. is releasing color correctors. The camo color corrector, long wear, hydrating, crease resistant, comes in a range of complementary shades. So we have yellow, peach, orange, green, and blue. I do have a concern about these. Love that we are coming out with color correctors, and I also love the range of color correctors, because this is good. It's a good range. They look really pigmented. It looks like paint. It looks like paint to me, and that becomes a problem because a color corrector is like to neutralize the color we don't want. So I have red. I'm going to neutralize it with green. I don't want it to now be green. Like, I don't want it to be like, I don't want to go from red to green. And again, this is swatches. These are swatches. So I don't know what this would perform like in real life. My concern is like, I would put it on and then like I would just be green instead of like neutral. Like, I wouldn't get the desired effect I wanted from it. But that's my only concern with it. But I like love that this is coming out. They're $4. I hope they're good. I guess the blue one is the scariest one. What do you use the blue one for? Offsets orange and yellow. That makes sense. Let me think. Khaki. Let me pull out Khaki's color wheel. Oh my God. If I learned how to do that, make a graphic come over from there, it'd be over for all of you. If I learned how to do that, I would work for Steven Spielberg. Some of you asked for me to talk about the MAC. Like, I asked what you guys would be interested. I don't really have opinions on MAC Skincare. NARS is also releasing skincare. It's not that I don't think either one of these brands is like capable of releasing good skincare. It's like I don't know. It feels too little too late to me. A little bit. A lot, actually. Like, let skincare brands be skincare brands. Let makeup brands be makeup brands. I understand you're trying to like get one-stop shop. Like, if you like NARS, you're going to be like, I buy the NARS. Like, those counter people, the people who shop at the counters, that's who gets this stuff. I don't think that you and I would get this stuff. I mean, like, maybe out of interest, or if they released something that was like but like, neither one of these brands, I feel like at this juncture, are brands that I would see jumping into skincare and it being like, let's make a revolutionary formula. Because I feel like there are other skincare brands that are really like getting into the nitty gritty and the science of it all and doing that for us. Do I want MAC or NARS to do that? No. Like, okay, I'm saying this having never tried it, but like, if House Labs released skincare, which is smart, that's because it's not like House Beauty, it's like House Labs. It does feel like they are trying to innovate formulas. That seems to be what they're doing, and it's all been very well received. A lot of everything's kind of like like the foundation was like hit or miss for people. They either like loved it or hate it, but like it's kind of seems like across the board people like those bronzers, like those highlighters, and some of the other stuff too. But it's just like, if they release skincare, I'd be like, okay, you've been trying to innovate formulas for makeup. I imagine that you're going to try to innovate formulas for skincare. But like when Fenty released their skincare, which they did so much revolutionary stuff in makeup, they kind of flopped. And so like this all like it all makes sense. It's like when Hourglass released skincare. It all makes sense to get one-stop shop, especially if they have counters. Actually, I think Hourglass do have counters in some stores. One-stop shop. You get all your stuff from that brand. It's like all similar pricing to what that brand already offers. It's like, okay, I'm just going to keep buying my skincare from the brands I buy my skincare from. I also have to admit, personally, skincare for me is I know what I like and I just buy it over and over again. I guess I'm not chasing some high in skincare, where in makeup I'm like chasing a high. I'm chasing like the thing that is a revolutionary and changes my life, and formulas that feel innovative. That's what I'm chasing. But skincare, I went from brands that I feel are reliable and make quality skincare, and it's going to do the thing that I want. It's just like, I already know what works for me. I think a good example is like, I get a lot of compliments on my skin. I've had one person say in the comment section of one of my foundation reviews that, could you please wipe a pizza across your face and get some breakouts before you review a foundation because your skin's too good. So like, no, blessed to have the skin that I have. I do take care of it. I'm not gonna, try to ruin that. Okay, only a couple more things. Like I said, this is going to be a long one. I said it in the middle of it, though. I'll probably have timestamps, to be honest. MAC is releasing the Strobe Dewy Tinted Moisturizer, enriched with hyaluronic acid, shea butter, squalane, vitamin E, $30, 16 shades. Okay, the shade range looks all right. This looks like a highlighter. The Makeup by Mario foundation also feels like similar, akin to this. Like, it feels like a highlighter. Like, you look wet when you put it on, which I'm not opposed to, which is a desired effect for me. So I think I would like this, but it's weird that I understand that we're going into like winter months. Well, we're amidst the winter months. If you live in an area on this side of the earth, like on this side, what is the hemisphere? The equator? Is that the hemisphere? I took physical geology. I know these things. People who would be experiencing winter right now, because we live in an America-focused world for some reason. So brands are releasing things to the American market. So we're getting into the coldest days of the year, the driest days of the year. It makes a lot of sense that we're releasing glowy product, but like, we've really swung in the glow. I think both of the Makeup by Mario and it looks like this product, we're like swinging into glow. It's not something I'd be disinterested in trying. I just am a little bit afraid of it. Enviable dewy finish. I think I would like this. I think if I tried this, I would like this, but it's scary. Those swatches are scary. And I mean that they look wet. And it's like, just like with the Makeup by Mario foundation, I feel like I put it on and I look wet. Like, even after it's set, I look wet. And for me, in my opinion, and this just might be because I'm like someone who like likes makeup and likes to like explore makeup and play with makeup, that like, for me, a foundation should be like a middle point, and then from there I should like use different primers and to get like a different effect. Because if you buy this foundation, if you buy this tinted moisturizer, you have to really like this look, and you want this to always be your look. You need to always want to look wet. No matter what you do, it's just going to have that finish, right? So you have to desire that finish all the time. When it makes more sense to me, it's smart if brands release something down the middle, like more down the middle. And then it's like, oh yes, I will mix in my glowy product on days that I want the glow. But if I don't want the glow, because it happens sometimes, even me, I don't need to look wet all the time. And like, while the Surratt Dewdrop foundation is like more luminous, it's not leaning so far into that you look wet. It's just like, there's more life to your skin. It's not matte, like, right? So it's just like, I just think that swinging this far into dewy is like a decided choice, like a real choice. Oden's Eye released a bunch of stuff, a bunch of single eyeshadows. I've watched a couple videos on these. There are shimmer ones and there are just multichromes. For all 30, it's $165.50. Like, that's not bad. That's pretty good. That makes it a little over $3 an eyeshadow. I'm not recommending that, by the way. First and foremost, I'm just saying, like, if you were to take the plunge and you did want all of them, that's a pretty good deal. And no one should be bringing 30 eyeshadows into their makeup collection at all. But these look really stunning, and I've heard good things about them. There's that red shade that everyone's losing their mind over, and I agree. That red shade, if I were to buy one of these, the red shade would be like one of the ones on the top of my list. Lauren May Beauty did a awesome video going through all of these, swatching all of them, talking about all of them. And I'm pretty sure she tried most of them on her eyes at some point. So she's talking about how they wear on the eyes. I would highly recommend, if you were really super interested in these, to go check that out. But there are some really pretty shades in here. In fact, when Lauren was talking, I was like, I want that one, and I want that one, and I want that one. I have really beautiful multichromes and very sparkly things that I have in my collection that don't get enough love. And I would imagine, if you're the kind of person who, like me, loves beautiful, single, sparkly eyeshadows, I bet you have a lot, and you might love yours more than me, because I know there are people who like use those shadows all of the time. I would do your due diligence to really try to get swatches both from the brand and from other people to see what these look like in different lighting in different places on different people, to really suss out if any of these shades are going to be different enough from what you already have. So if you already have 7 green multichromes that shift from orange to green to red to, I don't know, yellow, you know, like if you already have that, you might not need it from Oden's Eye. And I understand. I'm also one of those people who wants to just try things to try the formula of it. That sings to my heart. I'm like, okay, I have this green one and I also have this green one, and they're like kind of the same thing, but there's like nuances to them. I get it. But it's like, to me, on the eye, my friend Chloe Enchanted also said this on one of her Instagram stories relatively recently, that she was just like, they all kind of read the same on the eye. And they do. Like, multichromes are really cool. But like, kind of like, once you have like a purple one that's like mostly purple, all the other kind of multichromes that are purple and mostly purple just kind of look like that. And while the shifts are really cool, and when you catch all the shifts, it's really awesome. But it's just like, are they different enough? Do they read different enough on the eye? And I think that's something to really consider. I would say that this requires a lot of work, like to navigate this, but I do think it's a really stunning release. I love that Oden's Eye is exploring the world of singles. I love that they're selling single compacts, so that way if you want to use one as a one and done and you don't want to buy a whole magnetic palette, it's awesome. I love that there is its own magnetic palette. I think they're cool. I think that having options too, as far as like where to buy multichromes and how good the formula is or whatever, that's good. You know, there's like, we don't want one person dominating the market. We don't want a monopoly here in the makeup world. And like, that's kind of what's happening at Sephora and other places like department stores. Like, all the brands are owned by the same brand. So it's like, are they even different? Just food for thought. L'Oreal is releasing the HAPTA, which was developed with Lancome. It's the Brow Magic. And it's a device that you pick out your eyebrow shape. It puts your eyebrows on for you. And it says it's under the Lancome brand, but it's called like the L'Oreal. It's like saying L'Oreal, but it was like developed with Lancome. And we're going to talk about Lancome again in a second. For people who would have trouble putting on their eyebrows, assuming that this thing both works and is consistent and like it's easy to use, it's kind of a game changer. And it's not, you have to think about it like this though. This isn't for people who are able to do their own eyebrows. We don't need to go buy a $150 to $200 device and all of the things that come with it. It's not for us. Devices like this are created for people who literally cannot. Look at how the device is made. I'm assuming that this was made with accessibility in mind, which we'll also talk about in the next bit. But I'm assuming that these are kind of part of a larger thought that's happening with Lancome and L'Oreal, and I think that they're just trying to make makeup more accessible. And if that is the case, because it looks like this is really easy to hold, and I think the only thing that maybe would be hard for some people, depending on like your mobility, and again, I don't think that any of these products get made perfectly, right? But they're going to solve a lot of problems for a lot of people. That thing that you hold on to put the brow on is nice and thick, so you don't need to hold on to something as small as a makeup brush to put on your eyebrows. And it looks like it's pretty comfortable to hold to do this, as opposed to like getting into the nitty gritty of your brows and drawing on hairs. If this thing works, that's really awesome. Well, I understand there's like new technology and it costs a lot. It sucks that like we are coming up with this really cool accessible thing, and it's an accessibility thing, but it's not at an accessible price point, which I understand that this is going to be an expensive thing. And maybe like once this gets more normalized and there are like many brands doing similar things, but it is so cool to see. It is really cool. And I'm excited to see that. And this is the AI-powered motion stabilizing device. This is another HAPTA device. It is designed to help consumers with hand and mobility challenges to apply lipstick with foundation, eyeshadow, and a mascara to be added in the future. So right now just lipstick, but foundation, eyeshadow, and mascara to be in the future. So what this one does that the eyebrow thing doesn't do is that if your arm can't come all the way up to your face, this gives you the like length to do that. This is so cool. I'm so happy to see it. And coming from L'Oreal and Lancome of all brands, like they're not the brands that I would expect to. Here's what I'm talking about. This is innovation. And while it's not like a makeup product, it's not a formula, this is innovation and it's improving accessibility to makeup. And something that I say all the time is that like I want makeup to be accessible to everyone, and that includes people who have mobility issues. And it's again, I've talked about mobility issues when in my reviews because I try to point it out, but like I don't have any of those issues, but it's like one of those things that once you see it and once you start looking for it, it's easier to find how much is not really accessible versus what is accessible. The lipstick that I'm wearing today, which is part of a brand review that's coming down the line, I think it's a very inaccessible lipstick. It's a really hard lipstick to open. There's not a lot to grip onto. It's like really kind of annoying. And that's coming from me with like, I have no mobility issues and I can, like, it's hard for me to get open. I think of the Westman Atelier powders and their compacts. They're really hard to open. There's no lip on them. And so I think this is excellent. I think this is what I want to see. This is what I'm talking about. Like, this is just, it's excellent. It's excellent. Again, it's going to be, saying it's about a year away from its launch, so we're not going to see it anytime soon. But this is just, you know, it's not technology for technology's sake. Like, it's not like that. Oh God, what brand released that lipstick color maker? Like, it's not like that. That was just for fuck's sake. This is like, there's a reason behind this, and it's like intentional and well thought out, and I love that. I'm going to finish. We are on the last one. I promise. We've been on this Critical Sass for a while. I know a lot of you like Critical Sass, so I hope you have been enjoying this. But we're going to end with Touch of Glam Beauty, and they are releasing the Not Your Basic Batch palette, and pre-orders have started January 1st and will start to ship from February 20th. So know that this is it's a multichrome palette. Everything is a multichrome, and you get them in 26 millimeter pans, and there's 1.5 grams of product in each pan, which is a generous amount of product for sure. Please know, make sure the lid is clean and primed with a dry primer. It can be picked up with a fingertip or a sponge applicator. Use the tiniest amount for maximum payoff. Available to pre-order at Touch of Glam Beauty's Etsy store. There is a promo code TOGB15 to be used. So we just talked about Oden's Eye, and they were selling 30 eyeshadows for about the same price that this brand is selling 9 eyeshadows for. I'm also going to point out there is some discrepancies to think about. While Oden's Eye is an indie brand, it is definitely not a small brand, right? It seems to have people doing the work. Like, you know, I've heard not great things about their customer service. I haven't had any problems with their customer service, but I've heard tell from my makeup friends on the internet. I know a couple people who won't buy from this brand anymore because of their customer service experience. So I'll just throw that out there. Not Touch of Glam, but Oden's Eye. But I'm just saying, it's really hard whenever you think that like for your dollar value, you could buy 30 eyeshadows from Oden's Eye. But I think another thing that's important to keep in mind, considering that this brand is sold on Etsy, my guess is that it's like a 1 to 2 to 3 man show, and they're all pressing eyeshadows and they're all doing all of the things for it. I don't know the breakdown, and I don't know how long it takes for them to mix the formula, to press the formula, etc. But $160 for a 9-pan eyeshadow, that's a lot of money. And it's more than the cost of a mothership. It's more than the cost of a full-size Natasha Denona palette. It's more than a Tom Ford quad. Like, you know, there's a lot of things that you could throw out there. It's like, it's more expensive than a lot of these luxury things. I don't know if these are sold as singles as well. I don't know if they're going to release the shades as singles or if it's something you have to buy in the palette. What's 160 divided by 9? $17.78. That's about how much a lot of multichromes run for, full price. It's not, I know that the pigments of multichromes are also more expensive. So like if you bought a single from Cliona, I think they're about that price point. But there's something about you creating a palette of them. Most of the time when you bundle things together, there is a discount, right? I believe that Cliona has there's a certain discount if you bundle things. Like if you I think they have like build your own bundle. A lot of brands do build your own bundle when they sell single eyeshadows, and you get like a little bit of a discount whenever you do that. Not every brand, but a lot of brands do. It's just like, It's bold and brave. I would have just really, here's what I would have done. I don't think they should have made this a palette because it's not looking good from the consumer side of things, right? We all see $160 for 9 eyeshadows and we're immediately like, no, I'm not going to do that. However, whenever you break it down, price per shadow is like equivalent to a lot of multichromes. So it's like if you just would have released them at $18 a piece in your, and I think that no one would have batted an eyelash, but you're combining them all together and kind of selling them as a piece. I'm just saying it's a hard, and it's like also you're not, it's like it's just those 9. It's like whenever you think of like building your own bundle, it's like you get to pick your own. And I'm gonna also say this. I know that multichromes, people love multichromes, people love trying multichromes, people love to try formulas. I've already mentioned this in this very video. What I'm going to say to you is like, I made the mistake. So I'm here to tell you, if you are not already like eyes deep in multichromes, let me tell you, if I could do it all over again, if I could build my multichrome collection again, I would not have done it the way I've done it, because what I did is I basically bought the entire stained glass collection from Cliona. Whatever was available at the time, I bought, I think, all of it. What was available at the time. One, I don't even use all of them all of the time. It's so hard to cycle them all into my collection and to like into my use. And I'm not a swatch. I don't do swatch content. I hate swatching actually. So I'm not like seeking shifts on Instagram. I'm not doing this all the time and comparing and making sure that you guys can see the similarities and differences in all these multichromes and all the nuance in them. But as a consumer, as a regular consumer, if you try 3 multichromes and you do very selective shades, that's it. That's all you need. And I know it's so alluring. You're like, I want all of them. But I promise you, once you get them and once you start building your own palettes with it, you'll be satiated with what you have, because you're not gonna put all of the multichromes on your eyes every day. You're not gonna build an eyeshadow look exclusively out of multichromes. That's tough to do, because like some things shift to shades that don't match the other shades. It's like tough. I'm just saying. So I would not recommend 9 eyeshadow palettes to start. Just like I wouldn't recommend you buying 30 eyeshadows from Oden's Eye for $160 either. I wouldn't recommend that. That's too many eyeshadows. You're going to have a really hard time getting through all of them as a consumer, as just like a regular person who wears makeup. It's like, it's not worth it. And you had to like think about that. It's so alluring, right? You see those Oden's Eye and you're like, oh, that's such a deal. Like I should buy. It's not it. Let me tell you, it's just not it. And I promise you it's not. Anyway, I think that's it. We talked for a long time. I'm so sorry. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. I'm gonna like get out of here. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I appreciate you all so much. If you haven't subscribed and you sat through this whole video, well, I would love to have you subscribe. If you would like to support me on Patreon, you know, a little tip for making this really long video and having some fun with me, you can do that at patreon.com/hautemess. Again, no pressure. What I would really appreciate is a like on this video on your way out. And remember to follow your haute. And you'll find me. I will see you in my next video. I don't even think I'm going to sing today. I'm just going to say, France. No, that didn't feel good. Okay, let's do it. France.